Hello, I'm Casey Aiken, and this is 21 This Week. Coming up next, County Executive Leggett proposes big changes in the County Liquor Board. And the County Council takes up fossil fuel divestment bill. Trump won or did he? Recounts continue in Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. Stay tuned. Our panel of insiders will give you the story behind the story. We're joined by political strategist Susan Heltemes, Republican activist Jerry Cave, Second Vice President of the Maryland Republican Central Committee, Phil Bell, and Education Advocate Cynthia Rubenstein. Stay tuned for these stories and more on the next 21 This Week. This week, County Executive Leggett announced potentially widespread changes to the Department of Liquor Control in response to effort by the General Assembly and some members of the Montgomery County Council to privatize the distribution of alcohol beverages in Montgomery County. The plan outlined by the county executive was developed by a working group appointed by Mr. Leggett to provide an expansion of offerings available to county residents while also preserving the revenue generated by the Department of Liquor Control. Cynthia, there has been considerable pressure to provide additional convenience, customer service, selections, and price savings to county residents. The sticking point has always been how to do so without reducing the revenue that the county control has produced annually. Will Ike come up with a plan that works?
Ask me in about 3 or 4 years how well this works. I also think that the real people who are affected by this are restaurant owners and bar owners who've been complaining for years and years. I don't think that they are overly optimistic. And my preference would have been, of course, 100% privatization.
Really? That's
yes.
Great. Phil, in an era where there are seemingly rush to legalize marijuana, is there a fear that relaxing controls on liquor sales sending the wrong message?
Absolutely not. You know, we just talked about revenue, and that was part of the last question. Most people understand in 2016 the whole point of control is revenue. It has nothing to do with sobriety or trying to prevent access to alcohol, because there is very widespread access to it anyway. If you can't get it here, you can go to Prince George's, you can go to Virginia, another control state where they've talked about getting rid of this. So this doesn't send that message in any way.
But the idea is we got to talk about the money.
Right.
We got to find a way for the money.
I would
Yes.
like to respond to Cynthia's comment about the restaurants. The Montgomery County Liquor Department has finalized, it took a while, to computerize everything, and they are now at an 85% satisfaction with the people buying, the restaurants and those. And it is getting better. And even people who were negative about it are saying, it's getting better, it's getting better. And this plan, I don't know if it's good or bad. It does take it out of the government, and it would be run by a board of 5 people who have experienced in retail or the sales of liquor, and it would be run by a CAO. And the other issue that has been always on the table are the 400 employees in
That
the
was
department.
one thing that I should have brought up, that it was not only the revenue that the
It's the
county would be
employees.
losing, it was the union employees.
And so what is
Bingo.
going
Now
to...
you hit the...
No,
Thank
Jerry,
you.
let me tell you
You've
how...
been talking. Can I say one thing about it?
I'll tell you how it gets resolved.
Okay.
They stay with the union until they retire or there's attrition. And then the new employees, they will keep their benefits, retirement, et cetera. And as new employees come on board, they would be employed by the revenue
So let me
authority.
throw out something else. Government should do what only government can do, and it does that efficiently, and this is not it. And you know why we know that? Of the 3,500 counties in the United States, 1 is in the liquor business, this one, in a county that hasn't elected a single person from the business community. If they sold this, they would get hundreds of millions of dollars that they could reinvest. And the problem is the union wants to be in there, and it's ridiculous. This county should not be in the liquor business.
But in
Agreed,
this-
and
Wait a
this
minute,
plan is
let's
only...
take
They'd
a
have a big pile of
the
cash.
historical perspective here, though, is this dates back to the end of Prohibition.
Yeah.
And the reason that we controlled liquor was because we were afraid of liquor sales to minors. That was the reason, not because of the money. So, I mean, things may have changed.
I know, but that was the Depression was. I mean, that was a long time ago. Prohibition. Thank you. It was a long time ago. We shouldn't have been in the liquor business. We shouldn't be in it now. They sell this. It's an enormous amount of money.
The state of Washington just changed a year or two ago. The whole state was, and it has not been good. So it's one of the things
Well, I mean,
that his
that's a
committee
pretty broad statement, and I don't have any data on it. The county shouldn't be in the liquor
Wrap it up,
business.
Jerry. We got to wrap it up. You don't believe it should be in the liquor business, and Cynthia thinks it should be completely privatized. What a change. All right, our second topic. When the Washington Post editorial board opines that the Montgomery County Council needs to rein in their do-gooder instincts and apply some common sense, it's a sea change worthy of note. Nonetheless, the County Council seems determined to sail into the teeth of the wind by taking up legislation that would require the sale of $65 million worth of oil, natural gas, and coal company stocks held by Montgomery County employee pension funds. As the Post noted in their editorial, the proponents behind the divestiture scheme is to strike a blow, a symbolic blow, against fossil fuel consumption. But the Post also noted that such symbolism won't impact carbon consumption while imposing real costs on the county pension fund. Susan, if passed, what positive benefit would the county receive from this plan?
Well, it would have my love and admiration because I already purchased my my energy from non-fossil fuel sources. However, it is a goodwill thing, sort of like making Tacoma Park a nuclear-free zone, and other positions have been taken in the past, Casey. However, the sale of this $65 million would probably have so many fees attached that I'm not really certain it's worth it.
Well, there's no reason why the county shouldn't benefit from stocks that are invested in oil, natural gas. Jerry, last month, voters overwhelmingly approved term limits for members of the county council. Would you say that voters were tired of such symbolic gestures on the part of the county council instead of running and managing the county in an efficient manner?
People voted for term limits because they wanted term limits. But Montgomery County should hold on to their energy stocks and sell their alcohol assets. And this is a dumb thing to do because it's going to have transactional costs, like Susan pointed out, and their priorities are all screwed up. The priority is to maintain the health of the pension system for whom they have promised these benefits for people, and doing this is going to jeopardize it. And the other thing is those stocks are probably down from what they bought them, and you're supposed to buy low and sell high, not buy high and sell low.
Phil.
Yeah, I got to ask. We're talking about doing something symbolic. The same sort of people who engage in this are also the same ones that have prohibited innovation in oil, gas, and the energy sector overall for years. Rather than doing this, which is going to absolutely, as Jerry said, come at a great cost to the county, why aren't they promoting investment, innovation, growth, which would actually create jobs here as opposed to something like this?
Wait a minute. The county already purchases a large part of their energy from
green energy.
It's not about purchasing green energy. It's about having market-based changes and growth in that.
Fossil fuel leads to climate change, though. And
climate change is not real.
Oh,
it's
for
not. I've
God's
got to introduce the
You
truth.
are
It's
so
simply not real.
naive.
This is
I
not-
can't believe
This is
it.
not going
How's
to
it gonna
reduce the
how's it gonna
carbon
change-
footprint.
How's it going to change carbon footprint?
I can't believe it. I agree with Jerry. This is symbolic.
This is
This
twice.
is going to, as Susan has said, result in transactional fees. And this
Look,
this has no net
The point
material,
is you,
positive
if you
material
have an investment
effect.
fund, your fund should maximize its ability to make profits.
Correct.
Whether it holds oil stocks or whether it holds stocks in Starbucks or some other green company.
and the thing is,
it doesn't matter, and it
and-
shouldn't restrict itself from making a profit.
Even Al Gore for
And
years has
other
made
points
money
have been
from Occidental
other points
Petroleum.
have been made.
Right.
Have been made. Perhaps the county has stock in Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola is a sugared beverage that helps contribute to diabetes. So would they think about divesting themselves of Coca-Cola?
Well, we
Go
did
back
try
to
to
the first
get the
issue you
or
brought up.
Frito-Lay?
Why
or
is the county making money selling alcohol? I mean, that's not supposed to be so great.
No, red wine is good for your heart. Every doctor will tell you that now.
Well, I'm so
And
glad we all agree on one thing, that alcohol and consumption of alcohol isn't such a bad thing. When we come back from this short break, even as President-elect Trump announces his cabinet choices, there are still many who are hoping for a reversal of fortune. Stay tuned. And welcome back. 3 weeks after the stunning outcome in the presidential election, President-elect Donald J. Trump has been busy filling the many cabinet offices who will assist his administration make America great again. And even while this activity is displayed in print and electronic media, there is a countervailing force in the person of Green Party candidate Jill Stein, who has requested voter recounts in Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania. Ms. Stein professes that she is spurred on by worries about the hackability of voting systems in the wake of the hacking of the Democratic National Committee's network, and she denies that she's pushing for a recount to overturn the election results. Because of the Electoral College results, the election was decided in effect by slightly more than 100,000 people in 3 Midwest states. Mr. Trump won Wisconsin by a narrow margin of 0.8% or 22,000 votes, Michigan with a margin of 0.2% or 11,000 votes, and Pennsylvania, 71,000 votes and a margin of 1.2%. Cynthia, recounts are unlikely to overturn the results, even though these are bigger margins than ever overturned before in a recount. So why are we wasting time with recounts?
Well, first let me say this. Anything that ticks off Donald Trump is fine by me. But this is a, number one, this raises Jill Stein's profile. And I believe that's part of the motive for doing this. And number two, she pays for it.
But is it a good thing? Are we healing the country? We've been very divisive. Come on.
We're gonna,
have as Republicans.
we are going to
Susan.
find out. We're going to find out if the election in those 3 states.
Susan,
was
not only
okay.
do we have this recount effort, but there are also reports that Electoral College voters have been harassed and have been intimidated and threatened about voting for Donald Trump. Doesn't this just continue the divisiveness of the campaign even further?
Well,
isn't it time to get over this?
One elector quit, though, because he, in good faith, couldn't vote for Trump. However, all of this put aside, Donald Trump, up until the day before the election, said he might not accept the results. Secretary Clinton accepted the results, and she said it's over. However, Ms. Stein has some things to say. There are concerns, and trust me, if Donald Trump had lost by those few votes, it would be going on
Wait
in
a
the same
second.
net.
Well, let's talk about what's actually happened. Mrs. Clinton did sign on for the recount in Wisconsin, so she's not totally
Well,
accepting.
she didn't. She said she wouldn't reject to it, and it was fine with her. And so then today, Kellyanne Conway came out in the typical Trump fashion, saying the FBI, the House, and others are probably going to go after Secretary Clinton anyway.
Jerry, this week the tensions between the Clinton and Trump camps exploded in a most unique setting when at the Harvard School of Government forum on the election, top strategists for Hillary Clinton campaign accused their Republican counterparts of fueling and legitimizing racism to elect the president-elect. Won't these emotions ever subside?
The Democratic Party is very talented at the art of politics. And this is all street theater and live theater to delegitimize Trump's presidency. It's not working, but it's a great effort. This whole thing about racism is what you do when you scapegoat a group of people when you have no program. Hillary Clinton had no program, which is why she lost the election. She had no message, and the Democrats don't either. They've been completely wiped out, and all they have is to say that we're racist, which is a complete lie. And the same thing on the recount. It's all focusing on delegitimizing Trump, and Trump doesn't care. He's going to be the president. He's calmly going about picking his cabinet, and even the Washington Post said he did a good job, that the people are qualified. So it's really a despicable thing of what they're doing on this racism.
Phil, just even on the show tonight, you can see on the panel, there's still a great deal of dissatisfaction on the parts of some people. Won't we ever be able to reconvene and say, this is our president, we're going to move forward?
Well, this is going to be, in some respects, at least from the Democrat side, it's going to be a replay of the first 4 years of the Bush administration, where they did everything they could to delegitimize President Bush. Oh, well, he was appointed, not elected, and so forth. And then ultimately, unfortunately, 9/11 came along, but that is the only thing that stopped that trope. But what is going to happen is I think you'll see President Trump forge ahead, work on his program like he's done with carriers so far, and not really pay attention to this. And what he's proven over the past, close to 16 months of election time is that he's able to do this. He's able to carry the media. He's able to get his message out.
He's able to manipulate the media.
Wait a second. How is that manipulation?
He does
Yeah,
manipulate the
absolutely.
media.
Is manipulation called talking about your issues?
Wait a minute.
Talking about
Yesterday
your
he said
issues.
he saved 1,100 jobs because 800 wasn't enough. It was 800, but the other whole factory is closing down.
No,
and he is a hypocrite when he says jobs are coming back, but everybody admits he has done nothing to bring his
I
Wait a
agree
second.
that
He's
He
done
hadn't-
nothing because he
he's not
stopped
even in
producing the
office yet.
ties. He stopped producing the ties. But that's
They were
right, like
so
Jerry
tacky.
said. I wear them on the show all the time. I happen to think they're quite nice. But anyway, Jerry's right. He hasn't been in office yet. So it will take some time for that to happen.
But let's examine. You're right. He hasn't even been in office yet, and let's examine what he has done in the 3 weeks since the election. Susan, the Trump team has been very active in making selections for the cabinet positions. How are you going to rate right now his transition at this point?
Well, he's making appointments. They are considered the wealthiest of any cabinet ever appointed, and many consider have the least experience. So that will be interesting. And I think he's using people in the way it's like a dog and pony show, much like his campaign. And I can't believe that people are coming from the camera and say, I'd love a job. Now, what's interesting this week, however, though, Congressman Andy Harris from the 1st District is supposedly, he's an anesthesiologist, is being considered for the head of NIH or FDA. So maybe somebody from Maryland will get a job.
But don't you think this is exactly what he intended to do? He didn't say he was going to bring in experts in government. He said he was going to bring experts from the business world. Isn't that what he's exactly going to do? And what's wrong with being rich and successful?
Well, it's interesting because now certain committees are saying they want to see their taxes to see, if there are any conflicts of interest. And
I think Susan's right. I think we should bring a bunch of losers in and put them in the cabinet. People that are
they
complete
match the
failures.
president,
Oh, wait
then.
a second. We already did that.
Cynthia, in your area of expertise, which is education, there is a new nominee for Secretary of Education, Betsy DeVos. What do you know about her and what do you think of her?
She's an interesting choice, and I don't mean that in the most positive light. But she was not a Donald Trump supporter during the campaign. And she's another one of the billionaire appointees,
the most wealthy of all.
Most wealthy of all.
Hugely
her
wealthy.
husband's father founded Amway. She's a huge advocate for charter schools and using public money for private schools. This causes me some heartburn. She also is someone who is, another part of the interesting choice is that she is a member of groups that support Common Core, and that is different than what Trump's position has been during the campaign. So she's a very interesting choice, and she has no experience in public education.
Well, okay.
So I'm, not sold on
You're
this
not happy.
one. I'm not happy.
Well, Phil, are you happy about any of these?
I'm happy about a lot of them. I'm happy that so many people aren't experienced with bad experience. But the one I like the most is General James Mattis, because we've had 8 years of feckless foreign policy. We've had 8 years of the United States stumbling and bumbling, and finally someone who's going to be tough and who will operate the military in an effective way.
Jerry, one of the positions that still hasn't been filled is the very important position of Secretary of State. Who would you pick as
Well,
Secretary of State?
They're not going to pick me. my preference.
We know.
We do know that. I'll tell you who's not going to get it is Romney. But great optics to bring in Romney. He seems like the bigger person for doing it. Same thing with Nikki Haley. A great theater. Parked her in a position where she can't do any harm. Romney's not getting nothing. Back up on Secretary of State. There was a time back in sailing ships when ambassadors were important. They're just figureheads now. And it's almost at the point that important decisions for Secretary of State, they're made in the White House. So the kind of person I'd like to see in Secretary of State is somebody to go in there and root out all the evil that's in there of all the liberals that are part of the that are in the State Department and are cross purposes with what the Trump administration wants to do for the betterment of our country. And that's why I'd like to see Rudy Giuliani get it. Because if he can get the mafia out of New York, he can get the junk out of the State Department.
Absolutely.
Oh, Rudy
That's
Giuliani,
great.
who has more conflicts of interest
really
than
believe
even
that?
Trump.
He does.
I
He
give
will
you a
not get
brilliant
appointed.
analysis,
get appointed.
and you ask me if I believe
He
it.
will
He'd be
never
terrific.
get appointed
He would do
because
a
of
great
all of the
job.
things he's done that are in his past. He doesn't deserve the job, and
Because
he
he's
won't
been
get
an
it.
effective public
Even
servant, and
Repu-
you were just talking about
He cleaned
experience
up
and needing
New York
experience. Well,
City,
there you go.
which
Oh, and
nobody
since
thought
then
was
he's been
possible.
cleaning up being paid by foreign
He
governments.
makes yes, and
He's
they,
a piker compared to your Clinton
You know,
pals.
this is
No,
no, that's not true.
That's
This,
not
I love
true.
it. You know,
That's
this
not
is
true.
so great. This is so much fun that we can really get into the nitty gritty and compare and complain about all these guys. So guess what? For the next 2 weeks before Christmas, we're going to have a lot of fun. And don't forget the important date, December 19th, when the Electoral College takes their vote. Stay tuned for Parting Shots.
Thank you. That's good.
And welcome back. Now with Parting Shots, Jerry Cave.
So after the election, I get on my knees every night, say my prayers, and beg forgiveness for the transgressions I've committed, and say thanks. But I can't ask for nothing because after Trump getting elected, I'm good, man. I mean, it's just, and I didn't think that I was going to live long enough to enjoy something as good as having grandkids and Trump being president. And the last thing I'd like to say is he gave that speech in Ohio, and that was so sweet to listen to that. Went to see the doctor, found out it gave me type 2 diabetes just listening to that.
Thank you, Jerry. Don't have any candy canes between now and Christmas. Susan, your parting shot.
It pales in comparison to that. I'd like to give a shout out to 2 Montgomery Countyans, David Rubenstein of the Carlisle Group, who is giving money to fix up the Washington Monument. It's going to be closed till 2019. He's going to fix the elevator and get it back in shape. This follows on his contribution last year to fix up the Lincoln Memorial. Go to it. And we have our hero also in Montgomery County's Jamie Raskin. Look out for Jamie being out there talking about what Democrats have to do to get back in touch with the blue-collar Americans.
Thank you, Susan. Cynthia, your parting shot.
Okay, in the education mode, Shebra Evans and Jeanette Dixon were brought into the Board of Education, sworn into the Board of Education today, and I consider the Montgomery County Board of Education seats virtually the hardest job in Montgomery County. They are truly public servants. They are compensated very poorly. They have no staff, and they have the responsibility of stewarding the enormous budget to take care of Montgomery County Public Schools and their students and teachers.
Thank you. And Phil Bell, your parting shot.
Well, while we have been celebrating the election and getting ready for Christmas, it's a pretty somber note that report that former Jets running back Joe McKnight was killed, unfortunately, this morning in New Orleans. So my parting shot goes out to him and his family and the entire group in that community that knew him as a great high school football star. He was a good Jet, and we'll certainly miss him.
You know, thank you. At this time of year, many people, their thoughts turn to their loved ones who are no longer with them. And so I think my shout out tonight is for all of those people who are thinking about those that are not with them and having good, fond memories, and take that with them through the holiday season, because it's the gift of family, as we all know, that is so important during the holidays, and that's what we should enjoy. I had a wonderful Thanksgiving with my wife and our family. We had 9 over for Thanksgiving dinner, and I'm looking forward to Christmas when even more relatives will be over at our house. So I want to thank you. We have a lot to be thankful for. I know it's a divisive time, but the beauty of our country is we're going to continue to go, and we're going to continue to grow. And so thank you for being here. Thank you, audience. Tune in each and every week to Montgomery County's hardest hitting political talk show. For 21 this week, I'm Casey Aiken.